Hello, everybody. Welcome into the Apples and Ginos Fantasy Hockey Podcast, the podcast you come to when you're finally ready to take fantasy hockey seriously. My name is Nate Niblink. I'm the creator of Apples and Ginos, originator of the Zero G Draft Strategy, and this podcast, Blake and I are going to tell you how to win in Week 7 of the fantasy season. Let's get it. And of course, I have your friend and my best friend. It's Blake Creamer. Blake, how are we feeling tonight?
I feel good. I'm always feeling good when Nate's got that spice. Oh, buddy, is this going to be how it's going to be all pod? Because I'm here for it. Nate he's got a little bit something going here, a little edge tonight, Nate. I'm happy to have it. For all the folks out there that don't know, Nate and I are facing off here this week in the APL Tier 1. And we're popping the hell off. This is a nail biter, isn't it, Nate?
Yeah, it is an especially big nail biter for me because I have not had much luck at all. And to be fair, this was my worst draft as well, and I haven't played particularly well to this point. But yeah, I'm 0-5 in the APL Tier 1. I don't know if I've ever been 0-5 before. I certainly can't remember it, but it doesn't feel very good. And now I'm actually having a good week, and Blake is also having a really good week. And it doesn't feel that great, so I'm sweating every single shot that goes on here. I streamed who was it? Matthew Olivier for 3 points. Epic stream, just scraping the bottom of the barrel and coming up aces, and I'm still down and projected to lose to Blake here. So, I mean, I'm hoping, but if I've learned anything through the first 5 weeks of this season in the APL, it's that it might not go my way. So I'm preparing myself mentally for that already as well.
Oh, damn. I hate to hear this. That was not my point, Nathaniel. My point is it's called Clash of the Titans, all right? 2 professional fantasy hockey analysts, 1 victory. That's all that can happen here this week. That's what I was getting at, Nate. But to your point as well, I mean, we're people too, goddammit. All right? You know what I mean? Like in Cacupful, I'm 0-5 as well. I want to put that out there for all the people here because it's been absolutely brutal. It's been a crazy week, but I'm crushing everywhere else. So I feel good about that. But yeah, Cacuffle's been kind of my Achilles heel this year. It's just a lot of weird stuff happening here early on in fantasy, isn't it?
Yeah, some weird stuff. Cacuffle was your Barkov team as well, I think, right? So Blake's having a good night. He's already on his 17th beer, so we'll have to excuse whatever comes out of his mouth for the rest of the night. But I think we should probably get this thing underway here, Blake. We should probably get into some newsies.
Newsies. Damn it, there's some crazy news here tonight. Jack Hughes, anybody heard of this man? He's pretty good at hockey, but really bad at just standing near a glass table, okay? Because apparently he put his hand through there. My guy, what are you doing? What are you doing? This is crazy. So, I mean, yeah, he's going to miss Saturday here. Jack Hughes, we don't have a ton of information, but to me, the fact that they sort of reported it the way they did, it sounds more serious than just, oh, he's going to miss Saturday with like an accident. He cut his hand. We'll let that heal up. Like I saw a report that he did. He was leaning on a glass or whatever, and he put his hand through. So who knows what that looks like? Like maybe he ripped into a tendon or something, but I don't know. What do you think, Nate, in terms of, let's say Jack Hughes misses some time, who benefits, right? Like what do you think they're going to do there in Jersey?
Yeah, I mean, I guess it just probably solidifies Timo Meyer on the top power play, so that would help. I mean, Nico Heischer's going to play 25 minutes a night, so there's that. I think Mercer might go back to playing center. Like they might try to split it up that way. Yeah, it's probably not good news for Bratt, who's Hughes' most common line mate, and it's probably not as good news either for a guy that we'll talk about a little bit later, who I was starting to get excited about, got a promotion to the line one, but now if Hughes is going to be gone, then that will throw a wrench into those plans. But, I mean, overall, usually when you lose the best player on your team, it's just a downward arrow for most of the other guys on your team.
Yeah, I'm not sure about this. Like, I don't have the numbers in front of me, but I feel like last time Hughes was injured, Brat popped off. Like, he really kind of stepped up and did stuff. So, I don't know, something to watch. But yeah, this stinks. And it really stinks for this injury narrative on Jack Hughes. Oh, hey, look at this guy. He's injured again. It's like, how do you predict that, folks? All right. He's leaning on a table. He's not even playing the game. All right. So I don't know. I'm going to probably draft him 9th overall again next year. I don't give a damn. All right. Love Jack Hughes. All right. Let's move on. Got to talk about Seth Jarvis, Carolina Hurricanes. He took a stick in the eye Friday here against the Canucks. And yeah, he wasn't able to finish the game, but initial updates after the game sound good. Shouldn't be out too long. Maybe he misses a game. But if he does miss some time, how about our boy, Jackson Blake? Yeah. Jackson Blake played 22 minutes on Friday here. What the hell? I think that's got to be a career high for him. So, anyways, he got power play 1 in the absence of Jarvis. So just a good data point there, something to think about. We're going to talk about the Hurricanes in a little bit. Got to talk about the Chicago Blackhawks as well. They're pretty banged up. We got Tyler Bertuzzi, Frank Nazar, and Dickinson injured. They're all day-to-day. They all could play on Saturday. Burakovsky missed last game as well, but sounds like he's going to be good to go for Saturday's game. I would imagine, I think Bertuzzi and Nazar probably will play. We'll see about Dickinson, but yeah, don't quote me on that. All right. This never happened. All right. But yeah, check out your Hawks because, again, we'll talk about the Hawks a little bit later. There's some interesting bits and pieces for them in this upcoming week. Okay. Over to Toronto, Joseph Wall is nearing a return, and they really need him because we got Stolarz out with injury here. Wall could play on Saturday. That's nice. Definitely should be added if he's out there, right? He shouldn't be out there. But if he is, I think you need to add him at this point. What's kind of your take now with Stolarz? I haven't dug into how long he's going to possibly be out. Have you heard anything there with him?
Yeah, I mean, it's goalie injuries, right?
Mm-hmm.
They are going to be cagey about it, and you're not going to get a ton of detail on what's going on, but it doesn't sound like it's the longest term thing ever. That being said, yeah, there's just so many ways I feel like goalie injuries affect other parts of their game, and then
Yeah.
it just continues to be a thing for the course of the season. I don't know. I don't wanna make too many prognostications, but definitely I agree with the sentiment. Wall needs to be rostered.
There you go. Well, that's nice. That makes me feel really good, Nate. All right, let's move on. Marco Polo Rossi. He's week to week with a lower body injury, something apparently he's been dealing with for a while. So yeah, that stinks for him. Maybe Ryan Hartman jumps up. I don't know. That's a guy that can do stuff for fantasy. So something to keep an eye on what their lines look like with Rossi out. In Montreal, Alex Newhook, Nate's favorite player. This guy's an up and comer for Nate. Oh damn. He fractured his ankle. That stinks for him, and he's out 4 months. He's actually playing pretty good this season. I'm not going to lie. Happy for him that he's getting some production out there. And Caden Goulet, he has a torn adductor as well. He's going to miss 8 to 10 weeks. So yeah, not great injury news there for Montreal. Over to Vancouver, another Hughes brother, Quinn Hughes. He missed Friday's game here, but he was skating at practice earlier in the day, so it doesn't sound like it's going to be long term at this point. But I mean, if he's out for any period of time, my God, the wheels will actually fall off the Vancouver Canucks. Like, I'm watching these games like, it's like that Dumb and Dumber. Like, you're saying there's a chance. That's the vibe when you're watching a Canucks game. Like, these guys are working their buns off, and, they're not going to win, but you're like, maybe. Well, without Hughes, no. Okay. I don't know. Just this is very depressing. But anyways, let's move on. Just keep an eye out for his status for Sunday's game. I should also mention with the Canucks, Phil Hronik was taken out of Friday's game by the concussion spotter. So keep an eye on that. Without those two, who's the number one? My God. You know what? Put DPD up there, Elias Pettersson. Just give him the 25-minute treatment. Let's see what's what, right? You with me on this, Nate?
Absolutely.
All right. You ever watch the man play?
I have.
Okay, sweet. Nate doesn't miss a game, folks. I'll tell you that right now. He watches hockey morning to night, plus his regular father duties. I mean, this guy's a champion. Over to Toronto, Austin Matthews sounds like he's going to miss a week. He's going to be out till November 18th at the least. So, yeah, just plan accordingly. That stinks. Some people out there might feel like trading him, and, that's absolutely fine. So, I don't know who would do that. Anyways, move on. Thomas Chabot of the Ottawa Senators, he's day-to-day. He's not going to play on Saturday here. There's no update as of yet. So, yeah, a little bit of a boost or at least some more ice time for guys like Jordan Spence. Ooh, maybe there's something there. I don't know. John Gibson of the Detroit Red Wings. He's dealing with an uppy body injury. But he was out on the ice for practice here today, so he might not miss any time. But something to keep an eye on. Maybe if Talbot is out there, just keep an eye on him, because maybe he could get the 2 games, 1 game for Gibson, 2 games for Talbot, 1 game for Gibson while he sort of figures things out. That's a potential moving forward here. Zachary Hyman. Sounds like he's going to return for the Edmonton Oilers here on Saturday night. That's nice. Make sure you activate him. What's your thought here on Hyman now that he's coming back? He's coming back off a pretty brutal wrist injury, but he's been able to skate, and so hopefully his wind is pretty good. Do you think he just rolls right back onto the top power play there, or do you think Roslovic sort of made his case?
I think Roslovic's made a bit of a case here for sure. I don't think it's a guarantee that Hyman goes right back on the top power play with how Roslovic has played. So it wouldn't surprise me to see Roslovic continue on for another, I don't know, week or 2 here, but eventually I do expect Hyman will take it over, but that's not a guarantee. Um, I think it probably just depends on how long Roslovic can keep this thing going. We've seen Roslovic be very streaky in the past, where he
Yep.
looks incredible for 2-3 weeks and then fades into obscurity for the next 6 to 8. So it wouldn't be shocking to see that happen either. But it wouldn't surprise me if Hyman is not on top power play to start.
Yeah. What are your thoughts? Like, I've had a couple questions on Twitter and in the Discord here, people wanting to activate Hyman, like, who do I drop? And I've recommended a couple times, like, why don't you just leave him in IR for a game? And unless you really need those points, like you need those games played. But if you can absorb, like maybe see what he happens. Is that a strategy you ever employ, Nate, or you kind of just think you should activate him no matter what?
Yeah, I definitely do. If we get word that he is on power play 1 before the game happens, then yeah, you're probably activating him. But definitely there are some spots. It's going to be probably, I don't know, it might be a little bit tough with Edmonton specifically, just given their schedule here. If you have a full lineup without Hyman, then on the Saturday, then it might be a good spot to leave him in IR and get your games in without Hyman and figure it out on the Sunday after. So, yeah, definitely a strategy I've employed sometimes with some players coming back.
Sweet. There you go. And lastly, William Karlsson of the Vegas Golden Knights is week to week with an injury there, and he was placed on the IR. So that's it, Nathaniel. That's it for the Newsies. We need to get in and beat the hell out of that schedule. We got to attack it.
Let's attack that schedule. This week we have 6 games on the Monday, 8 games on the Tuesday, 4 games on the Wednesday, 12 games on Thursday, 4 games on Friday, another 12 games on the Saturday, and 6 games on Sunday to round it out. 52 total games played. That's a normal week in the grand scheme of things. Vancouver has a Sunday game this weekend and gets the Monday, so they have a nice little back-to-back of off nights that you might want to consider. Get yourself the Sunday streamer, but also get yourself a little bit ahead for the week ahead. Get that Monday game in as well. There are a couple teams that have the Monday, Tuesday back to back, and with Tuesday actually being, depends by your classification, I guess, but 8 games being played by the way I do it would be a light day as well. So we actually have 5 light days and only 2 heavy nights this week. So Monday, Tuesday, back to back, both on light nights. You get Columbus and Colorado having those 2 games back to back to open the week. So that's a nice look as well. Then we have 6 teams with Monday, Wednesday off nights: Anaheim, Boston, Buffalo, Carolina, Edmonton, and Washington. We get 4 teams with Wednesday, Friday off nights. That's Boston, Buffalo, Carolina, and Minnesota. And then 6 teams with Friday, Sunday off nights: Boston, Buffalo, Carolina, Chicago, Minnesota, and Winnipeg. So all in all, it's another pretty good streaming week. There's really no reason to be benching these guys on the Thursday or the Saturday with a lot of these really good streaming options. We have 3 teams that have perfect schedules this week. The alluring Monday, Wednesday, Friday, Sunday schedule, all the off nights. So definitely get in on these teams: Boston, Buffalo, and Carolina. Chicago, Calgary also play 4 games, but 3 off nights. So they're quite close behind in terms of their utility as a week-long stream, especially if you can fit them in on one of those heavy 12-game nights. So lots of options here. It's a pretty standard streaming week. We're going to be looking at teams with off nights. We're going to be looking at players from those teams, and we're going to get to biz.
Oh,
All right,
yeah.
Blake, why don't you lower some people's expectations for us?
That's what I do, Nate. All right. Just the most basic podcast out there, aren't we? Right? We're just happy to be here, folks. All right. I'm sorry about this, but we're gonna lower those expectations even more. All right. Thanks for sticking with us. All right. That's not what we're talking about. We're talking about the worst teams to stream. Those are the expectations we're lowering, folks. And there's a particular team that is not going to be a great hold here this upcoming week. The Nashville Predators. They've got a 1-game week. Ew. That's really rough, right? That's going to be very, very rough for who are your Nashville Predators that you're actually holding? It's Philip Forsberg, Roman Yossi's in IR. Are we holding anybody else? Is there anyone of interest? Can I interest you in a Nashville Predator in a 1-game week here, Nate?
No.
It's pretty simple. But you did see that Stammer got the game winner here tonight. It's the beginning of a hot streak for Steven Stamkos. Book it.
A 1-game hot streak for your matchup?
Yeah, it was a hot game, all right? But you start with one hot game, you put it together with another game, and then that's how we build the momentum. It's been a rough season for Stammer. Yeah, oh my God. I did get him in one spot, but it was like the 10th round or the 11th round, and I was like, oh, this is a smash. Yeah, he's smashing my will to live. Okay? Pretty bad, but yeah, it's going to be rough for Forsberg owners. That's for damn sure. Anyways, Nashville, you're dropping everybody besides Forsberg. Next couple teams that have pretty bad schedule, Ottawa Senators and the Philadelphia Flyers. 2 games played, 0 off nights for those teams. Both of them play on the Thursday and the Saturday, both 12 gamers, right? So it is going to be hard to get your fringe players in from the Flyers. But who are those fringe players? Let's talk about the Flyers first. Michkov, right? This is a guy I picked up in a spot because the Flyers had a decent midweek schedule here. You got Michkov, you got Zegras, who just popped off for 2 goals and an assist, and the shootout winner there tonight. Owen Tippett just erupted for 4 points on Friday here. You got Travis Sanheim, Cam York on the back end. What are you doing with these Flyers? Because I think you could make a case for all 5 of those guys to some degree that you want to hold them.
Yeah, I think you can make that case for sure. Some of the underlying numbers are not so kind to these Flyers. I would say like Cam York might have the best underlying numbers of all of these guys, and that's really saying something. Zegras has been good for a while now and has been getting pretty solid minutes to boot, so that part is hard to ignore and hard to drop. He had another 3-point night here with 7 shots. Like,
Big game.
big game again, 20 minutes. It's a nice night yet again for Trevor Zegras here. So you're probably hanging on to Zegras. I mean, Michkov's still under 15 minutes average time on ice. I think you can still drop him. I'm not getting suckered in by one big night from Owen Tippett after what was it, 5 straight scoreless games. So, yeah, I think you can drop basically anybody here not named Trevor Zegras and feel pretty good about it.
Yep. And we're not saying you have to drop those players, folks. Like, it has to make sense for your team, these drops. If you're in a deep league, like, yeah, are you really going to want to drop some of these guys? Maybe not, right? But I agree with that sentiment there. Again, it's going to be a tough hold. I got Zegras in a couple spots, and yeah, I'm not dropping him, and it's going to sting a little bit. All right. Let's talk about the Ottawa Senators as well. We got the Pinto Bean, Shane Pinto, new contract. All right. He's getting paid. He secured the bag. I love to see it. Guy's having a great season. Dylan Cousins as well, starting to pick up his play as of late. Claude Giroux, Artem Zub, that offensive wunderkind. All right. Talk to me about these Senators. Where's that cutoff line?
Yeah, so Drew and Cousins are on power play 1, which obviously makes them a little bit more exciting. Shane Pinto signed a big deal this week, so he's gained some, I guess, organizational credibility. But he's obviously been a huge part of their team this year so far. He's obviously cooled off a little bit from that scalding start that he had, but still a very, very important part of what that team is looking to do moving forward. All of these guys are pretty underwhelming under the hood. Claude Giroux is pretty hot at the moment and does rank 62nd in individual expected goals for. Unfortunately, that is the best number for any of the guys that we've mentioned here. Dylan Cousins has had a real tough time. His underlings are truly atrocious. His ice time has gone down as a result. That's a player that I'm struggling I'm in a very deep bangers cats league where theoretically that's like the best place for him because he hits and he does all that. And it's a struggle to hold on to him even after this 2 point night against Boston the other night here. So, yeah, I think that Pinto, Cousins, Andrew, and Zub, if you're in a deeper league there on defense, I think all of them can go. You don't have to. I would be trying to keep Pinto first just because I believe in the deployment there the
Mhm.
most out of any of these players, and then Cousins, and then Giroux.
Love it. Totally agree. Let's move on to the next team with a really garbage schedule, and that's the Pittsburgh Penguins, the upstart Pittsburgh Penguins. What the hell? Dan Muse, Coach of the Year. Are we? Is this? Are we calling this right now?
Right now, let's
Okay,
call it.
sweet. All right, done. Book that. Yeah, Pittsburgh plays just a back-to-back Friday, Saturday. So that's going to be a real tough hold early on in the week. You can't just take 4 days of zeros, right? I think that's pretty rough, but they do have some players that are going to make it tough on you. We got, I think the easy drops to me, Chris Letang, Anthony Mantha, and Kindell as well. Nice little rookie there. But what are you doing with a player like Evgeny Malkin? Obviously, he's played amazing this year. He's had a great start, hot start. Talk to me a little bit about Evgeny Malkin and what you're doing with him in a 2-game week.
I don't think you can drop Malkin. He's on a 101 point pace. I'm not really in the business of dropping players who are scoring at a 101 point pace almost a quarter of the way through the season. So I'm not dropping Malkin. His underlying numbers actually look really good.
They
He's over
do.
19 minutes a night in the last five, 26 shots per 60, 36 individual expected goals for per 60. Malkin is doing the thing. I don't think you can drop him.
I love that. And then the other guys were just saying, smell you later.
All of them can hit the curb.
Get the hell out of my sight. All right. And then there are 8 teams that have 3 games with 1 off night. I'm not going to go through all those, but they are the Toronto Maple Leafs, Florida Panthers, St. Louis Blues, Montreal Canadiens, Dallas Stars, Detroit Red Wings, Tampa Bay Lightning, Vegas Golden Knights, New York Rangers, the Colorado Avalanche. Dear God, there's a lot of them. And the New Jersey Devils. All right. I finished it. I feel good about that. All right. So definitely take a look. You don't have to drop players off those teams if need be. But now, Nate, we got to get into a little segment where we talk about crossing the streams.
All right, let's do it.
Oh, yeah. Okay. I just did a pod the other night here, and I was talking about one of our favorite players here at Apples and Ginos, Dylan Guenther. Okay. This is a guy, we've been on for a little while, yourself especially, right? And, Gunther's he's been a little bit down lately, right? New deployment there with the Utah Mammoth the last few games here, cold streak setting in. You could say he was entering the full Dilly McWilty mode. All right. That's what I dubbed him yesterday, Nate. Dilly McWilty. When he's in a cold streak, that's what we're calling him. So, anyways, Nate and I decided we do the right thing as friends. Give the man a perfect, wholesome reset. Okay. A peaceful evening at a beautiful hobby farm, animals, gardens, fresh air, right? All the stuff that Nate loves. I know that. And we thought that, Gunther would really like this. So, definitely a place where a man can reconnect with nature and maybe his scoring touch, right? So before we headed out, the 3 of us shared some appies at this old farmhouse, right? Very classy stuff. I made a charcuterie board, right? You remember this, Nate. Nothing but the finest meats, the most sensual meats and cheeses, right? For the 3 bros. And look, small side story. While prepping it, I did lean over a sheet of glass and I didn't see the edge. And I kind of just put my hand through there and I kind of just, I did slice it a little bit there. Kind of like a magician with no training. It wasn't catastrophic, but definitely, probably needs stitches, right? That's what we were saying.
Injury prone.
Yeah, definitely injury prone. I mean, I do that, right? I can still get the biz, but yeah, my arm was all shredded. Anyways, that's fine. We didn't want to ruin the evening. Fast forward, night falls. We're all laughing. The vibes are great, right? Nate just shotgunned 2 Mountain Dews. Unbelievable. I've never seen anyone do that before. He's kind of like a man with nothing to lose. Eh, Nate? That's that was kind of your vibe that night. You remember that?
Yeah, I didn't have anything to lose. I was with my bros. Everything was good. You gotta, you gotta get to do.
Yeah, no, totally. You got to do the do, right? Now we do that. Very good. Full sugar. All right. Anyways, we decided to cap the evening with something truly special. Okay. A triple stream cross, right? Like we do. Nothing crazy. Just, back to the basics, right? We wander down to this little stream by the fence line. The stars are twinkling overhead. Okay. Farm animals peacefully sleeping nearby. And we begin. Okay. And boys, it was beautiful. Okay. Serene, inspirational. Okay. We created a cyclone of brotherhood. Now, I should say I was the first to finish. I've been drinking cranberry juice that day. I mean, we know that cranberry juice is a natural diuretic, right? So I'd peed a couple times before. I didn't have a lot in the tank, right? So I finished Nate and Dylan Guenther still going. I step aside to use some hand sanitizer, right? We want to be very clean about this, right? I mean, we're dealing with, human waste. But I had forgotten that my hand was still all slashed up, right? So I put the hand sanitizer on and it hits the wound and I let out a shriek from deep within my soul. Right? Like that. Primal, like a falcon being stabbed. Okay. The boys get startled. Okay, they both spin around midstream to look at me. And here's the problem. I'm standing right in front of a fence that, unbeknownst to us, is fully electrified. Okay. And Guenther, sweet, innocent Dilly McWilty, hits the fence dead on with a full pressure golden arc. And what happens next, I've only seen in one other place, and it was the movie Jurassic Park when that kid gets blown off the electric fence. Except this time, the kid is Dylan Guenther. His pants are halfway down, right? He's shooting backwards through the air in a glorious fountain of sparks and urine. Okay. He crashes to the ground and lands, unfortunately, directly in Nate's stream path. Nate had to pinch it and zip up because now this is a medical situation. We sprint over, terrified, right? I mean, we don't have insurance for this. He just stands up, right? Calm, composed, like he just downloaded a software update from the universe. Okay. And he looks at us and he says, boys, this is exactly what I needed. Okay. And then he goes, I should probably get some sleep. Big game tomorrow against the Islanders. I said, oh, okay, great. We're looking at each other like, did that really happen? That's fine. He wants to go to bed. I think that's a good idea at this point. So we tuck him into a makeshift bed in the barn, 3 sleeping bags on some hay, right? We crash right beside him. It was a nice night. Okay. The next day, he flies out, right? He gets to the game and he's flying. He's faster than ever, shot even quicker than before. He buries a goal. He looks unstoppable. And then right then and there, Dilly McWilty was gone. Okay, he went full Dill and transformed into Triple Pickle McCrispy. Okay, yeah. And, we already have the shirts made. And yes, we're sending him one, right? This is what we dubbed him now. And I'd imagine his sub 70-point pace rockets up to well over 100. Book that. And Nate, that's when we realized, I think, sometimes growth doesn't come from comfort. Sometimes it comes from cranberry juice, an electrified fence, and a perfectly synchronized triple stream. And progress isn't always linear, folks, right? Sometimes you have to be knocked back 6 feet by 10,000 volts of barnyard justice before you can move forward again. But if you face adversity head on, pants half down, but heart full, you might just become your final form like Dylan did, like Triple Pickle McCrispy did. Okay, all it takes is one spark to turn a cold streak into a heater. And Dylan Guenther, he found his spark that night. So I just wanted to share that with all of you. Nate, remember we saw Guenther. He was just popping off. He was flying around out there. It just looked like amazing. I think he's back. Are you with me on this?
Uh, yes, I think he's back. Yeah, literally flying through the air that night and flying on the ice the next night. So it's very poetic. Thank you for that, Blake. We should probably at some point talk about some hockey players.
Don't whiz on the electric fence. All right. Sorry, folks. All right. That was actually a request from our Discord, folks. You can do that. All right. You can request crossing the stream stories, and I'll do it. I don't give a damn. Okay. But anyways, we got to get the biz. Let's talk about the best teams to stream here for this upcoming week. And we got 3 teams with a perfect streaming schedule: Boston Bruins, Buffalo Sabres, and the Carolina Hurricanes. 4 games, 4 off nights. Let's dig in on some of these players. First off, let's start with Boston. We got some power play 1 guys out there: Pavel Zacha, Victor Arvidsson. I think those are perfectly reasonable streams for this upcoming week. You got some beefer options, Zadorov, Kastelik, if they're out there. Zadorov's a really good beefer option, actually. What's your feeling on some of these Bruins here? You have interest in Zach and Arvidsson?
Yeah, I do. I think you could do worse. They are playing together on a line away from Pasternak, so you don't get the extra even strength Pasternak boost for either of them. But I mean, Saka has 3 goals in his last five. Arvidsson has 2 goals, 3 points in his last five. Saka is getting over 18 minutes average time on ice, while Arvidsson is just a little bit over 16. But as he is wont to do, Arvidsson's shots per 60 and his individual scoring chances for per 60 look pretty good. But actually, Saka's look pretty good too the last little bit. All that to say, I think both of these guys actually look like pretty solid streamers this week.
I'd love to hear this. See you at the party, Victor. He's out there. All right, Victor Arvidsson, we've got a 70-point season incoming. Not this season, not the next, but sometime in his career. Mark my words. Okay. I don't know. We can erase that later if it doesn't happen. Let's go over to Buffalo, the Sabres of Buffalo. One of the other depressing teams besides the Vancouver Canucks. I hate this for Buffalo, but yeah, we got some bits and pieces. Bo Byram has been getting power play one with Rasmus Dahlin out of the lineup. So, I thought it would be Power, but it's Byram. So that's a nice data point as well. I think the Power Glove, Owen Power, Bo Byram, yeah, they're both very rosterable players here this upcoming week. Josh Doan, Ryan McLeod, Jack Quinn, Isaac Rosen, Noah Ostlund. Am I getting these men's names correct? I think I am. I feel good about this. Talk to me. I mean, I think we know that Power, Byram, Doan, and probably McLeod need to be rostered in a week like this. What about guys like Quinn, Rosen, and Ostlund?
Yeah, they're actually all playing together on line at even strength, so that part's a little bit interesting. But we are getting a couple of them on the top power play, so it's a it's a tough spot because
Yeah.
neither of them are looking that good under the hood. But Rosen in particular is actually kind of scoring and doing stuff on the power play, which is kind of nice. So you can go this route, and like theoretically on paper it feels like it makes sense, but it also feels like very possible that both of them are off the top power play by like the first game of the week,
Yep.
and you're just like now dealing with these guys who are getting 10 minutes a game not on top power play. So it's a risky swing. It could pay off. I'm not going to say it can't pay off. It definitely could, but it is a pretty risky swing. I would go Rosen. I tried to look up this pronunciation and I can't find it.
Oh, damn it.
Um, but yeah, I
I'm
I
looking it
would
up
go
as
with
we
him
speak.
first, and I would go Ostland after that. You also have Ryan McLeod here, who I'm actually pretty into. If he's going to continue to center this top line between Tage Thompson and Alex Tuck, like that'll work for me. And Ryan McLeod has the potential to, he's not going to pop off for like, a 7-shot game where he has 3 goals. He's not going to be that guy, but can he facilitate Alex Tuck and Tage Thompson get into biz? I absolutely believe he can. So if that deployment sticks, I'm actually pretty excited about Ryan McLeod as a streamer for next week. I think he could easily wind up with like maybe a goal and 3 assists through the 4 games and end up being the best streamer of the week.
Yep, I like that. I've had some good experience with Ryan McLeod as a streamer before,
Mhm.
so I'm here for that. Yeah, the other guys, it's kind of a pick 'em, isn't it? It's like just a shot in the dark, really. I feel like there's going to be better streamers this week. Like you can separate things. Like we're talking about the three best teams with the 4 off nights, but you can do other stuff too. You can get a back
Yep.
to back. You can roll into off nights later. Like I don't think you need to just go out and be like, I got to get one of these guys on Buffalo, right? Because they have a perfect schedule, because I think there's going to be some better options out there. I do like Bo Byram, though, especially with Dahlin out. I think that's a really strong stream that you could just do a week-long stream with Byram. I feel good about that if he's out there. That's
Yep.
my 2 cents. Let's look into Carolina. Nothing could be finer. And we got some bits and pieces here as well. Keandre Miller, Logan Stanko. We'll put some stank on it. We got Sean Walker. We got Jackson Blake. Who I'm taking here on Carolina. But, I mean, talk to me about Keandre Miller and, some of these other players. Keandre Miller and Walker in particular. I think that there's a lot of questions about those two players on our Discord just because of the power play deployment. Obviously, we have Shane Gostisbehere back in the mix now, so that's going to be a little bit muted. But what do you think about those two players?
Yeah, I kind of like both. They're both getting big minutes as of late. Sean Walker heading into tonight's game had 5 points in his last 5 games. Miller had 4 assists in his last four, from what I can see here. So yeah, the underlying numbers look pretty solid for both of them. I think that you could do a lot worse than either of these guys as a stream. If you end up in a spot where, just by virtue of the guys that you don't want to drop this week or whatever the case may be, that you actually need to stream a defenseman rather than streaming a forward, then I think both Miller and Walker are totally fine options.
Yep, agreed. I mean, and they're both good beefer options as well, especially Sean Walker. He's doing that. He's putting up some periffs. So, again, I think there's probably going to be better options than a power play 2 guy and a guy that's not even on power play and probably in those 2 players. But Jackson Blake, we got to get some Jackson Blake on your team here this upcoming week. In my opinion, Jackson Blake should be rostered for this upcoming week, no question. Talk to me about Blake and Stankoven.
Yeah, Blake, I'm into as well. Jarvis, we got a late update here that he looked like he took a stick to the eye, and it doesn't sound serious, but if we get better information later and it turns out he's going to miss a little bit of time, then Jackson Blake was the guy who went to power play 1 and has in the past as well. So if Blake is on power play 1, then he instantly becomes way more interesting, but his underlying numbers are really solid alongside Stankoven already. Blake gets a little bit more ice time kind of naturally, about an extra minute, close to 15 minutes a night for Blake, whereas Stankoven is under 14 in the last 5 games before tonight's game. So I lean Blake's way already, but if he's getting power play 1, then now you're actually looking at somebody who might be able to provide you a pretty good week for streaming purposes.
You should always lean Blake's way, right? Haven't you learned that yet, Nate?
As long as there's not an electric fence behind him.
Exactly. Yeah, that's fair. Actually, that's absolutely fair. Burned his penis off. Oh my God. I mean, he scored a goal, but that's fine. Sorry. Anytime I can say the word penis on the pod, I do it. All right. It's just skin, people. Okay. All right. Half of us have it. All right. Let's put a pin in that. Let's talk about the next. No. Oh, just keep going. Yeah. No. What? Yeah. Don't put a pin in your penis. All right. Well, some people do. All right. And then no judgment for them. Right. Oh yeah. No, you did that, Nate. You did that. Okay. All right. Go to the corner and think about what you've done. So my kindergarten teacher used to say, go to the corner and think about what you've done. I'm like, I'm fine with what I did, really. I'll just go sit over there. Anyways, all right. Next teams we want to talk about. This is fantasy hockey, folks. All right. Damn it. Okay. Chicago Blackhawks and the Calgary Flames. 4 games with 3 off nights. The Flames play back-to-back Tuesday, Wednesday. Then they play a back-to-back Saturday, Sunday. So that's an interesting schedule. Chicago plays Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, and then Sunday. So that's a really good back half week streamer there with the Blackhawks. And again, we're looking at the usual suspects. Frank Nazar looks like he's close to return. Could play here on Saturday. You got Ryan Donato, who's, still out there doing stuff. I mean, Chicago's been a surprise, and they're putting some points on the board. Guys are getting production, so could do a lot worse. You got Burakovsky with the Bedard exposure. Levshinov is power play 1 now, but kind of limited minutes. Toivo Teravainen. You got Doc out there. What's Doc's first name? Colton? Is that
Colton?
Right? Colton, I knew it. All right, Kirby and Colton. The parents get an A+ there. I like the name Kirby, actually. That's what I wanted to name my son. My son's name is Cole, but I wanted to name him Crew. All right, and my wife vetoed it. What do you think about that name, Crew Creamer?
Yeah, I would have vetoed that as well.
Damn it, Nate. Oh, I'm glad I didn't ask you. All right, all her friends vetoed it as well. I'm out on an island here. All right. I don't know. That's anyways.
Put a pin in it.
Yeah, I'm gonna put a pin in that as well. Okay, I should put a pin in a lot of what I'm doing here. Very basic podcasting, what we're doing here, folks. Anyways, talk to me about these Blackhawks, Nathan. All right, Nathaniel.
I will do that.
Call yourself.
Blakecation. Ryan Donato, I'm not really interested in, but a lot of the other guys I actually am. Colton Dock is obviously just the banger guy. Big time hits. Like he's way up there if you look at the hits leaderboard this year. So he's a very legit option in bangers leagues for this week if you need some hits. Nazar, Burakovsky, Teravainen, Levshinov, I'm into all of it. I think most likely Nazar's not going to get power play 1 when he comes back, and most likely it is going to be Burakovsky and up on that unit again, and Teravainen up on that unit. So I think if I had to rank them, I would go Burakovsky, Nazar, Levshinov.
I think you're right. Yeah, I think you're right about Nazar there. They've really been cooking, looking more dangerous with Nazar out of the lineup, which is weird to say because he was playing great. But yeah, what do you think about Levchinov? Like, I love the points and the power play production, but the minutes, like last 5 games, I mean, just under 18 minutes, like that. I don't know. That's fickle at best. Obviously, Rinzel is off the table. Like, he's not getting it back. He's getting minimized at even strength as well. But yeah, what do you think? What, like, is Levchinov sort of a guy you need to be adding? I've had that question a lot here, and I thought the listeners might like that.
Yeah, I think he should be rostered in a lot of spots, at least as long as his power play is cooking to this extent. His ice time has increased. It hasn't been by like the amount that we want to see necessarily, but it has increased, especially over the last 5 games here. So he's slowly kind of working his ice time up, it looks like, from the recent trend anyway. So that's something I'm monitoring as well. It's probably a spot where I just want to be a little bit ahead of the curve as well. Like, these are especially on defense. Defense feels like it's so hard to fill this year with actual reasonable players who are making a difference in your fantasy lineup. So if Levchinov can develop into that, it feels like this is a really good week to have him. Get the 4 games, and whatever happens after that, at least you got him for the stream, and then you can reevaluate at the end of the week.
Yeah, I like that a lot. I did that with Rinzel earlier when Chicago had a good schedule, right? And then I bounced him, right? Because he wasn't doing
Yep.
anything. So no risk, really low risk play picking up Levchinov. I like that. Let's talk about Calgary here. We got Rasmus Anderson out there getting a ton of minutes. I'd love to see that. Is he going to be a Maple Leaf soon here, Nate? What do you think?
Oh man,
Are you excited
I
about
don't.
the prospects of Rasmus Anderson on your team?
I just don't know if that's the problem with this team at this point in time. I struggled to see how any one player is going to fix what the Leafs have going on at the moment.
Yep. No, I hear that for sure. I like the run he's getting here in Calgary. I didn't expect that. I picked him up in a spot just as a good streamer, and I've ended up holding him because in 2 spots because of the minutes he's getting. He's good with peripherals, right? Gets some blocks, and he's been chipping away with a little bit of offensive production. So you can do a lot worse there. You got Jonathan Huberdeau out here, Blake the Snake Coleman, Matt Coronado, Mikhail Backlund, the Tinkly Winkly Man, Morgan Frost, and Adam Klapka, that ultimate beefcake. My God, he's like the beef for final boss. This guy, he's nuts. And then you got Lomberg. Yeah, Lomberg out there as a beefer option. So talk to me. How are you ranking these Calgary Flames in this upcoming week here?
Yeah, I think you can look at it a few ways. Like, Huberto's obviously the biggest lock for the minutes there. He's pretty cold at the moment. So maybe that's not as exciting to you, but if you want the safest guy here, then it's definitely Huberto in terms of the deployment, at least. That he's not gonna, do
Yep.
what Coronado did and get himself scratched for a game. That being said, Coronado literally ranks first in league in shots per 60 over the last 5 games, getting over 18 minutes a night. So seems like that is kind of behind him at the moment. So Coronado is definitely the bigger swing to take here. So those are clear tier above the rest of the guys here. You can do Coleman, you can do Backlund. Backlund's shooting a lot as of late for whatever it's worth, and Morgan Frost is on the top power play again for whatever it's worth. I'm not excited about Calgary. It's pretty hard to be with what they've had in terms of offensive production the last little bit.
Yeah, rough stuff. Brutal offensive environment there in Calgary. So, I mean, take it with a grain of salt. I do want to mention as well, because they have the 2 back-to-backs there, that means Devin Cooley's going to get 2 games. So I just want to throw his name out there as well. Like, that's what we're looking for. 0G, that's 0G 101, folks. If you can stream in a goalie that's going to get you 2 games, like, that's pretty good. So just something to put in the back of your mind there. If, it's slim pickings out there, you can pick up Devin Cooley and get 2 games out of him, most likely, unless they roll Dustin Wolf back to back. Dare they do that? I don't know. He did get a shutout the other night, though, so I'm happy for the man. Rough stuff. All right, let's move on to the next tier of teams here. We got a bunch of teams with 4 games and 2 off nights. Anaheim, Columbus, Edmonton, New York Islanders, San Jose, Seattle, Utah, and Washington. All right, we're going to do some quick hits here, Nate, with some of these teams here, the players of interest for you, starting with Anaheim. I mean, this team's a wagon. All right. They're doing stuff out there. We got Chicken Necks, Chris Kreider, Mikhail Granlund. You had me at hello, Olin Zellweger, and Beckett Seneca. What say you? How are you ranking those players?
Yeah, it's definitely Kreider up top for me. Granlund, I think, can be relevant, but was getting the Kaloran line treatment in his first game back here, so not exciting there. Seneca has 5 points his last 5 games, so that's a little bit interesting as well. But I would go Kreider, then Granlund, then Seneca, and Zellweger on the back end. We'll talk about him a little later. I'm actually pretty into it.
Absolutely. All right, let's move on to Columbus. The all-time worst streamer I've ever had, Dmitry Voronkov. All right, I picked him up in 2 spots. I felt so good about myself. I'm like, yeah, this is going to be a great stream for last week. No, but he tooted right in my open mouth, and I don't like that. Yeah, I mean, I'm open-minded as the next man, but that's where I draw the line. All right, and plus, put a pin in my penis. I don't want to do that. All right. Sorry, it's not right. All right, don't do that to another person. Anyways, Dmitry Voronkov, thank you for nothing, but he's out there, all right, and he's still doing stuff. I mean, I'll let you talk about his underlyings, but yeah, that's a player that exists in the NHL. We got Adam Fantilli, who I'm actually pretty excited about with Boone Jenner out of service here. Yeah, we got Fantilli getting some increase in deployment. He's playing with Voronkov and Marchenko at even strength. Bang. That's a nice place to be. Sean Monahan's out here, maybe. Matthew Olivier. I mean, Nate, you talk about that stream there. You saw that in the tea leaves, all right? He picked them up for 3 games, just popped off. Kent Johnson, how the mighty have fallen. Was Kent Johnson ever mighty? I don't know. You got Ivan Provorov, worst haircut I've ever seen. And the Coiler. I love that we get to talk about the Coiler again, Nate. All right. We do have some options here on Columbus. And talk to me about who tickles your fancy.
Yeah, Bronco's underlying stuff still looks
Yep.
pretty good, and he's still line one, power play one. Like,
Gonna
maybe
do it
he's
again.
just the most inefficient guy ever, but I'm still into it, especially for a good streaming week. If there's Dmitry Vragov out there on your waiver wire, I'd be into it. Sixth in individual scoring chances, 4 per 60 over the last 5 games. Adam Fantilli, if he's not rostered in your league is a clown league probably at this point because, yeah, underlyings look terrific. That can happen when you get some Kirill Marchenko exposure and finally get on the top power play. But Fantilli, we've talked about this. Like, the thesis for Fantilli was line one, power play one, and then he takes off.
Blast off.
And look at what we've got: 6 points in 5 games for Adam Fantilli. I still think Monahan can be somewhat relevant as a streamer here. I wouldn't say I'm like super excited about it with the second line deployment there, but he can definitely still do worse than Monahan. He's still on power play one, so definitely not opposed to that if he's been dropped in your league. Olivier's the banger stream, and Kent Johnson, I can't get behind it right now, honestly.
Sad.
Like 13 minutes a night, it's just brutal. Provorov, kind of break glass in case of emergency style player. I would say the same for Coyle. The underlyings are not good there.
Yep. No, I like all of that. Man, you called Marchenko like 3 years ago. Like that was one of your guys, like way back in the day when he was getting stamped out by Pascal Vincent. Oh my God, remember that? But
Yeah.
yeah, Marchenko looks like a true breakout player. Like he's a star player. I think he's still getting better too. So I'm a big fan of that player. Now let's move on to Edmonton here. Again, usually slim pickings on Edmonton in terms of streamers, but if Matthias Ekholm is out there, I think you could do worse. Jack Roslovic still, like he might be getting dropped with Hyman returning on Saturday. And like Nate said, I think there is a chance that with what Roslovic's been able to do here in the lineup without Hyman, maybe he gets a little bit of run because of that. Maybe a little bit of leash. And you got Vasily Podkolzin out there as well, who's going to get you some bangs and the occasional goal there. So, I mean, talk to me about these players here on the Oilers.
Yeah, hard to get excited about Puck Colson. He does have 3 points in his last 5 and is getting 16 minutes a night, which is more than you can really say for a lot of the other Edmonton forwards, not
Yep.
named Jack Roslovic at the moment. Roslovic, like 6 points in his last 5, 19 and a half minutes a night. The underlings all look terrific, including the individual stuff there. So, yeah, when I say Roslovic could hang on to that role for a bit longer, I do believe it. Ekholm's underlings are really good, and that's why I keep bringing him up on the pod here and keep putting him in the hold me section. He hasn't been able to translate that into a lot of points. He's on a 30-point pace on the season, but the underlines are still so good that I'm going to keep recommending him.
Yep, I love it. He's one of those guys, just like that kind of 4th to 5th defenseman on your fantasy team that can actually do stuff out there. The underlings are good, and eventually that's going to come home to roost. So I'm with you there with Ekholm. Let's talk about the Islanders. We got the ass man, Emil Heineman. All right, the Heine man. If you guys need some clarification on the nickname. We got Kyle Palmieri, Pajot's out here, Anders Lee, Romanov is your beefer option, and Jonathan Drouin just keeps putting points on the board here. I mean, that's all he needed just to move to the island, and now he's generating still nothing, but he's scoring here, and we love to see that. But obviously we know your thoughts on Palmieri. What about some of these other players? Even Lee, we know, but Drouin and Heineman are the two I'm interested in hearing you talk about.
Yeah, love Palmieri. I think Lee is kind of falling off a little bit from where he was before. His underlings are falling off as well. But yeah, hard to ignore what Druin's been able to put up over the last little bit. Even before tonight's game, he had 6 points in his last 5 games, over 18 minutes a night. So I'm kind of into Druin here. Heineman, I think, is mostly just running hot. He is shooting a lot, so that part is nice, but the underlings are not nearly as good once you get past the actual shot volume. So I think he is just kind of running hot, and that'll probably even out sooner rather than later. So he's definitely down the list for me there. Pajot is more of like your banger slash face off wins, like that kind of stream in my mind. And Romanov's a pretty good banger, does hit and block, although his minutes have been down a little bit this year from previous years. So take that into account as well.
Yep. Emil Heineman, MD. All right. He's a part-time proctologist, Nate. Did you know this?
I didn't know this, but the more you know.
Yeah, exactly. Who chooses to go into proctology? Like, what you go to school for I don't know how long, and you're like, you know what? I want to work with butts. All right, the inside. I want to see what's going on in there.
This is an
I
all-timer
lost
at
it.
this
Yeah,
point.
sorry about this. All right, let's move on. San Jose Sharks. We got to talk about the Sharks. All right, they're still swimming. Okay, just keep swimming. We got Dmitry Skorlov, Tyler Toffoli, William Eklund, Philip Kershev, and the Klingon, John Klingberg. What's your fancy?
Yeah, I mean, if Eklund's out there, you should definitely run out and grab him.
Yep.
He's had a nice little start, getting 19 plus minutes a night. All good stuff for William Eklund. So I'm into that. Klingberg has not been scoring many points, but the ice time, the power play 1 deployment, all that is still there. So I'm kind of into that. Toffoli, as long as he's getting some Celebrini exposure, it's hard to be mad at it. I think Tyler Toffoli is a great player. So if he's going to play with Celebrini, if he's going to play on a top power play unit, then you definitely should get yourself some Tyler Toffoli. I'm not into Orlov, really. I think he had his moment in the sun and everything has fallen off a cliff since then. I'm not into Khrushchev. I think he had his moment and everything has fallen off a cliff since then. So yeah, it's really Eklund with a bullet for me. Toffoli as well, I like a lot. And Klingberg, I'm still interested in as my 4th or 50.
Yep, absolutely. Let's move on to the stream team, the Seattle Kraken. Release the Kraken. Open the gates and let the Kraken out. He's hungry. Okay, we're looking at Jaden Schwartz. We're looking at Matty Beniers. Okay, Matty Beniers getting insane deployment as of late, so I definitely like that. That's not what I had expected. He played 24 minutes the other night. Mason Marchment's out here. Jordan Eberle, a couple goals the other night. Ilya Tolvanen got a goal the other night as well. He's a good banger. It's just really hard to get excited about these Kraken here. Like it's kind of goes along with some of these players that we've talked about, where it's like there's better players that you could kind of do a makeshift, stream, like grab a back-to-back, then grab some off nights here, as opposed to picking up like a Seattle Kraken player for a week-long stream. Makes no sense. But that said, is there anybody on the Kraken that is of interest to you that you think has some potential to do something here?
Yeah, I like Jordan Eberle, 21 minutes a night, 38 shots per 60, 54th individual expected goals for per 60 over the last 5 games. So that's definitely the number one with a bullet there for the Seattle Kraken. I also will cast an eye at Jaden Schwartz in a deeper league, and it has to be pretty deep for me to be actually
How deep?
actually
How deep?
considering Beniers, Marchment, or Tolvanen. It would have to be at least 15 and a half teams deep.
That's so deep. Oh my God. All right, it's good to know. Yeah, we've mapped the boundaries out of Nate's mind here. All right, let's go over to the Utah Mammoth. Barrett Hayton, Ian Cole, Jack McBain, Lawson Krause, your beefer options. I mean, yeah, we're not going to talk about the bangers, but Barrett Hayton, yeah, what's your temperature with Barrett Hayton here?
I mean, the underlying still look good. He's just over 15 minutes a night, 44th shots per 60, 17th individual
Yeah,
expected goals
like
for per
that.
60, 70th and on ice expected goals for per 60. So that's all still there for Hayton. I mean, he's not scoring any points, so the underlines can look terrific, and he can just be wildly inefficient too. But I don't mind taking the shot there. You could do worse, I guess. And then, yeah, the other guys are just bangers to me. If they score a point for you, great, but you're getting them for the banks.
There you go. And last team with the 4-game, 2 off-night schedule, the Washington Capitals. And we're looking at Connor McMike. All right, McMichael and Ryan Leonard, who is definitely a player of interest for me moving forward. I don't know if it's going to be this season, but I'm liking what Leonard's putting down. What about you?
Yeah, I am too. I know the guys talked about him on Trade Talks as well. I'm pretty into what Ryan Leonard is bringing to the table right now. I think
Yeah.
the Capitals might be floundering a little bit for the first time in a while, and they might be looking to inject a little bit of what Ryan Leonard brings to their top six and to give them a little bit more run. I think that's definitely within the realm of possibility for the immediate future. So I think Ryan Leonard is a guy that everybody should have on their radar. Got 15 minutes in the last game here, and the underlines look terrific. I know it's really limited minutes, but 13th shots per 60, 67th individual expected goals for per 60, and 86th in on ice expected goals for per 60, even being down the lineup without power play time there. So, yeah, I think there's a lot of ways in which this turns really good for Ryan Leonard in the near future. Connor McMichael, I was kind of interested to see if he could take over that 2C role and do something with it. He has not done anything with it.
Yeah.
So I'm rapidly growing less interested in Connor McMichael.
There's still time, right? I mean, he's going to get a look there, but yeah, they had Justin Sordiff up there with Protas and Wilson the other night. What the hell? Who the hell is Justin Sordiff? All right. Inquiring minds want to know who this man is. It's a cool name. But yeah, I mean, one other thing on Ryan Leonard, and this is a stat that no one cares about anymore, but individual Corsi for per 60 on the year, he's 6th best at chucking pucks. That means something when you're 6th best at something. Yeah, he's tilting the ice out there in his minutes there. Keep in mind those are rate stats, but I do like some Ryan Leonard. All right, and let's move on really quickly to the last couple teams here. Minnesota Wild and the Winnipeg Jets both played 3 games, all on the off night, so that's really good. Winnipeg plays Tuesday, Friday, Saturday, so again, it's a nice back of the week stream if you want that. And then Minnesota plays Wednesday, Friday, Saturday. So again, you could do a back-to-back Monday, Tuesday, and then jump onto a Minnesota player. And then it's 2 moves, 5 games. Book it. That's how we stream, folks. Let's talk about the Minnesota Wild. We got some PP1 options here. We got Zeev Buium at 57% rostered. He's got to be on a team here on your squad this upcoming week, in my opinion. We got the Zucchini Man, Matt Zuccarello. How the hell is this man rostered as low as he is? It doesn't make any sense. That's the only place on the power play where Minnesota is actually scoring, folks. So you need the players that are on that power play, and Zuccarello's on it. You got Ryan Hartman. You got Marcus Johansson, who had that great streak there. Yakov Trenin, Foligno's out there for your beefer options. How are you ranking the offensive options here on Minnesota?
Yeah, I'd put William in there just because I know he got dropped in a lot of spots after he lost the top power play, but he got it back, and in the last game against San Jose, he played over 26 minutes. He was playing with Brock Faber on the top pair. So, yeah, I mean, I don't know how likely that is to last, but his underlying stats look terrific. 4th in individual expected goals for per 60 amongst all defensemen over the last 5 games. So I really like Steve Buium as long as he's hanging on to that top power play spot. Of the forwards, Zuccarello is obviously the guy to look at here, but shout out to Ryan Hartman in practice centering the Kaprizov line with Zuccarello. So if that's going to stick, then Ryan Hartman instantly becomes quite interesting.
Yeah, love that. We're big fans of Ryan Hartman here. In limited minutes, he's a metrics guy for sure, and that does translate when he gets more minutes. He's a good player. So
World class dingus too.
oh yeah, world class dingus. I know from experience, dude. Sorry. You see what happens when I drink on the pod, folks. It's a problem.
Goodness.
Yeah, I'm sorry about that.
The 10%ers over there.
Yeah, I know. These are sour beers, and they're a higher percentage of alcohol. So, you understand what's going on. It's science. Let's talk about the Winnipeg Jets. Not a lot of options there, but you got Mom Spaghetti, Cole Perfetti, and Nito Niederreiter. All right, from the Three Amigos. Anybody ever see that movie? You ever see Three Amigos, Nate?
No one's ever seen that movie, Blake.
What the? Hit me up in the comments if you've seen Three Amigos. All right. We have to prove Nathaniel wrong. All right. He doesn't know what the hell he's talking about. But, anyways, Cole Perfetti, Nino Niederreiter, Alex Iafallo, or Al Iafallo. Alex, is that his name? I'm messing this up. Anyways, talk to me about the Jets. Who do you like there?
I don't know if he's ever gone by Al, but his name is Alex.
Big Al.
Perfetti being on power play one is obviously the most interesting there. I don't have a lot of faith in any of them right now. I think it makes sense that Perfetti's had a little bit of a slow start coming back to the NHL after a big layoff to start the season, really trying to catch up to everybody who's getting into midseason form here. So, yeah, he's down at the bottom of the list of streamers for sure this week. Either I follow, that's like your 16 teamers where you're looking at these guys. For what it's worth, Niederreiter, 52nd individual expected goals, 4 per 60 over the last 5.
He does that, and he beefs out of control, usually. All right, Nate, talk to us about the Patreon. That's what the people came to see.
For sure they did. Supporter tier, $2 a month. Apples and Ginos Patron League eligibility. Get yourself on the wait list, and maybe you can get a team this year. If not, we'll get you in there for next year. APL eligibility also exists in the Apples tier, $8 a month, but the Apples tier also gets you access to patron-only Discord channels, patron-only live shows, gets you access to the show notes, including these show notes with all of the streamers and hold options ranked for you. And it also gets you access to the Apples and Ginos player evaluation tool, which looks a little something like this if you're watching on YouTube. And you can look at Jackson Lacombe and see how, despite the fact that he has scored no goals in 17 games and has registered a paltry 7 assists, his underlying stats look truly terrific, and that should turn around very soon. All right, Blake, I'm going to run through some dream streams here. The Dream Streams is basically where I rank players for points for the upcoming week. I am going to be doing this based on the number of off nights they have, so I'm only assuming you can get them into your lineup for the off nights that they have. I'm not going to assume you can fit them in for the Thursday or Saturday 12-game nights, so I'm taking that into account when creating these rankings. And that puts Ryan McLeod up at the top for me. I mentioned it before, maybe it is a little bit more vibey than I'm used to when making these calls, but Ryan McLeod in between Tage Thompson and Alex Tuch is something that I could really get behind. Maybe check that he's still getting that deployment before you make this ad, but if he is, I'm all about it. Pavel Zacha, number 2. I'm actually kind of into Zacha here with this power play 1 and the big minutes that he's getting and better underlying stats than we've seen from him in the last couple of years under Marco Sturm. It might just be that this is a better system for him and he's playing a little bit better. So I'm kind of into that. Matt Zuccarello, he only has 3 off nights this week, but I think he can compete with McLeod and Zacha even with one less game. Burakovsky here, Huberto, Victor Arvidsson, I would classify kind of in this range as well. Teuvo Teravainen. Then you get into Jackson Blake, Matt Coronado. I did throw in Ryan Hartman at the bottom here, and a couple of honorable mentions in Logan Stankoven and Cole Perfetti. After, I don't know, after Huberto, after maybe Arvidsson with the 4 games played, it really starts to feel really mushy, and you could go for any one of these guys. So just go for whatever makes the most sense for your team, positionally, whatever else you can go with. If you need the bigger swing, go with Coronado. If you need the quote-unquote safer play, go with Huberto. That kind of stuff is how I'd be making those decisions a little bit further down the tier list here. Anything to add, Blake?
No, I love it. Yeah, I like that Ryan McLeod's up there at the top. I think that's a fun swing to take, and I'm interested to see what he can do. But yeah, the Zucchini man. Oh man, I wish he had one more game. It'd be an absolute smash.
Absolutely. Best for hits this week, Nikita Zadorov. If he's not if he's not rostered rather in your bangers league, then you're probably in a weird league. Yakov Trenin, Colton Dock, Ryan Lomberg, Marcus Foligno, no shortage of guys who can hit this week if you need them. Best for blocks, Jonas Brodin, Andrew Peak does that. Matthias Samuelson does that. Alex Vlasic does that. And I threw in Jared Spurgeon here because he's kind of the only one of these blockers who does anything other than basically just block. Spurgeon has been throwing the body a bit this year. He's got 30 blocks and 30 hits, so he's doing that. So you could add him and not feel too bad about it. Anything on the bangers?
He's been spurging everywhere, banging everything. Oh, God, Jared, please. It's a family show.
Okay. Thanks for that, Blake. Let's continue on to Old Me. This is when we talk about the players that we want to hold the most across the entire NHL. And I think probably a lot of people share the sentiment that Will Smith would be high on that list. But unfortunately, he's graduated from the Hold Me program here. We've held him too long and we need to let him be free. 65% roster now on Yahoo is the reason he's graduated. Svechnikov was also on this list last week, graduated 59%. Tyler Bertuzzi up to 52%. However, we still have a long list of players that we're pretty into as longer term holds that are under 50% rostered. So I'll run through the list here. Patrick Kane, 39%. William Eklund, 38%. Tyler Toffoli, 44%. Chris Kreider, 45%. Anton Lundell, 31%. Jared McCann, 28%, still on IR, but when he comes back, that's where he'd slot in for me. Brock Besser, 41%. Jack Roslovic, I have up here. This is obviously assuming that he is going to hang on to Power Play 1, so bear that in mind. I didn't want to rank him, with in between information.
Right.
So this is where he would be if he's still maintaining Power Play 1. Sean Monahan, Matt Zuccarello, Andre Burakovsky, Kyle Palmieri, Mikhail Granlund, Dmitry Voronkov, Connor Garland, Pavel Zacha, Owen Tippett, Evander Kane, Will Cooley, Alexis Lafreniere, and Jonathan Huberdeau. I do want to shout out Anton Lundell. I had opportunity to dig in a little bit on Anton Lundell. Made a trade earlier this week that we'll get into at a different time when we're not as starved for time here, but Anton Lundell has basically a hit and a block per game over the last 7 games here and a point per game in that stretch. He's not a big time shooter, but doing a lot of stuff around the periphery and getting 20 plus minutes a night while doing it. I think Florida is going to start to figure things out in their new life without Barkov, without Kachuk. And then when Kachuk gets back, I think that should actually only be positive for Lundell. So overall, I'm actually pretty into Lundell for the rest of the season, and I've been kind of slowly inching him up this list over the last couple of weeks.
Yep.
Anything to add on the list there, Blake, or should we get into the lower roster guys?
Sorry, I thought you were throwing it to me. Yeah, Patrick Kane, actually, his rostership went down. Are
Yeah,
people not listening to what the hell we're saying? You got to get Kane on a team. What are we doing? He's at 39%. Pick him up.
love that. Sub 20% rostered. Zuccarello obviously going to top this list. I mean, he's going to have a pop-off week here, and then he's going to be well over this. So last call on Matt Zuccarello before everybody realizes that this was an insane number. Jordan Eberle, 13% rostered. I also kind of think this is an insane number given the fact that he's getting 21 minutes a night and posting the best underlying stats of his career in Seattle right now. That makes a lot of sense to me. I'm holding the candle for Zach Benson here, obviously still on IR, but this is where he would slot in for me as well. Jackson Blake, Jonathan Drouin, Teuvo Teravainen, all making the list as well. Then we go sub 10% rostered, and Matt Coronado is going to be the tops of this list for me, mostly because I'm really trying to take swings on these guys under 10% rostered. If they don't hit while I've got them, then I'm going to kick them to the curb anyway, so might as well swing big. Coronado, Alex Laferriere, Ryan Leonard, who we talked about. Matthew Wood has had a really nice little stretch of games. Nashville with that 1-game schedule next week. Probably not a spot where you're going to be hanging on to Matthew Wood, but keep an eye on him after that. The underlying stats have looked really good over the last little bit. Arseny Griciuk was someone that I was really excited to talk about on this podcast after getting that line one exposure to Jack Hughes, and now Hughes has injured himself in spectacular fashion, and now Griciuk's relevance for fantasy has probably significantly diminished, but he did get over 20 minutes while getting that line one deployment in the last game, and this is a guy that I've heard talked up in some places as a guy who should be able to take a step this year. And so I wanted to shout out that name specifically before it goes mainstream. We were the first.
Nice.
Ryan Hartman making the list. Mentioned him being on that Kaprizov line with Rossi out for a bit. Oliver Bjorkstrand, Beckett Seneca, and Braden Bowman, who randomly got power play one there in Vegas and had a nice little night for himself. So I'm not expecting a whole lot there. He's 0% rostered on Yahoo, but if he makes this power play one stick for any length of time, then yeah, it's a guy that should be on your radar. Anything to add, Blake?
I still like Zach Benson. I'm glad you mentioned him. I think that's a player that when he does get healthy is going to go back to power play one. And yeah, there's like a 13% rostership or whatever he is. Like that's a nice swing to take.
All right, let's move on to the defense. Long-term plays. Justin Falk at 46% rostered. Rather, he's been getting a lot of run here and has actually been doing something with it. I thought that maybe he was a guy who wouldn't be a fit under Jim Montgomery's system, but over the last little bit, he's actually been quite good. He's got 6 points in his last 7 games here and consistently getting close to 24 minutes a night. So, really good stuff for Justin Falk over the last little bit. John Klingberg, Artyom Levshunov, Brady Shea, I like as well. The underlying stats have looked pretty good, and he's picked up a couple of points this week. So I like Brady Shea. Again, the 1 game week next week, you're not going to be able to hang on to him through that, and you shouldn't. But after that, I would be looking back at Brady Shea once again. Oliver Ekman Larson has made power play one stick for the time being there in Toronto, and as long as that's the case, he should be on your radar and on your roster. Philip Hronek, Bowen Byram getting power play one there in Buffalo, as mentioned. Good week to grab him up, see how he does, and potentially you hold him, potentially you let him go after that. Olin Zellweger, really good underlying numbers playing on that wagon of a team in Anaheim. Matthias Ekholm, we mentioned. Travis Sanheim, Chris Letang, Brant Clark. Sub 20% rostered, you're getting Klingberg, Levshunov, Shea, Byram, Zellweger, and then I threw in Artem Zub, who's done some stuff at even strength this year, and Simon Nemec, who we had to shout out after his stunning hat trick
Yeah.
earlier this week. Nemec has done some really good stuff and popped in Brian Bader's hockey prospecting model as well. So I think that it's not the craziest thing to think that Nemec could have some fantasy relevance, even if he's not on a top power play unit. That being said, Keefe has to actually trust him and give him some minutes. So I don't think it's insane to think that Nemec could be an offensive force. I'm still worried about Keefe there. Anything to add on the defenseman here, Blake?
Yeah, I like that you brought up Nemec. Fun fact, folks, I did stream him in our matchup against Nate. I got him for game one Monday, and he got a goal, and then I dropped him. And he got a hat trick. Oh, my God, I hate myself. But yeah, something interesting about Nemec, I just want to say as well, Dougie Hamilton's coming back. It's not a big injury for him, so we need to we need the data point there with Nemec. What kind of deployment does he get with Hamilton back in the lineup, right? Because he has seen an increase in deployment and he's getting some more opportunity, but will that stick with Hamilton back? Time will tell.
All right. Lastly, the goaltenders here. In Vegas, you got Akira Schmid, even though he has had a rough little go the last couple of starts.
Pissing me off.
Yeah, Joseph Wall, as we mentioned, he could be in line for a bit of starts here. They may even lean on him a little bit if they want to slow Anthony Stolarz' role as he comes back into the lineup. And Stolarz hasn't been good, as we've mentioned, so there's that to consider. Dan Vladar, 38% rostered. John Gibson's only 27% rostered. Definitely should be higher. Archer Shilov's 41% rostered with Tristan Jarry out. You've got the Columbus tandem, Elvis Merzlikins and Jet Greaves, 19% and 29% respectively. And then Yaroslav Askarov, 38% rostered there in San Jose. And then sub 25% rostered, there's really not that much out there. Merzlikins obviously qualifies here, but I wanted to shout out Jesper Wallstedt. And I mean, I'm not calling anything right here, right now, or anything. I'm not in the business of predicting goaltender performance, as I've said many times on this podcast, but a couple of nice games there in a row against the Islanders and against the Calgary Flames. 2 goals allowed on 27 shots against the Islanders, and then shuts out the Flames on 36 shots. And then Gustafson came back in and had a not too bad game himself there, but worth noting, Wallstedt, I don't think it's crazy. He had a big time pedigree and then kind of struggled a little bit in the AHL. I don't think it's crazy to think that Wallstedt could be a 0G guy as soon as this year. We've seen crazier things, basically, is all I'll say on that. What do you think of the goaltenders here, Blake? Anybody I missed?
Yeah, love it. Just Devin Cooley, I would add to the list, not as a like a hold me kind of guy. Maybe it's not the right section, but I do think that's a player that can do something. So, check and see if he's out there. Because again, 2 games this week, maybe more. So there you go.
All right. Well, that brings us to the head-to-head streamer deathmatch, Blake. And I definitely didn't think about
Boom.
picking a guy for next week, and I really should be thinking about next week already because you picked Alexis Lafreniere, and he has only played 2 games, but he has 21.7 APL fantasy points. Kyle Palmieri has played 3 games, and he's got 13.65, which is really not that bad
Pretty good, actually.
for the week, but Lafreniere has had an absolute pop-off week. Now, I believe it is my turn to pick first. And so I should probably think about who that player might be. I should probably get in the habit of doing this before we
Well, you're
get
doing it
into it
live
here.
again. I love this.
Doing it live. We'll do it live.
Thing sucks.
You know what? I think I will just go with my guy. I mentioned off the top Ryan McLeod being the guy. There's
Nice.
probably a better option out here, but I'm going to put my money where my mouth is. I'm going to go with Ryan McLeod.
Yeah, great pick. I'm going to go back to the old well. All right, Jackson Blake. Give me some Jackson Blake this week. I love the 4 games. I love the potential if Jarvis misses any time.
All right. Well, if people stuck with us through all of the references to sharp objects being placed into genitalia, they should probably click the link in the description, join the Discord community, like, rate, review, subscribe, comment, whatever you can do for us there. It really does help us out. But that is going to be all that we've got for this episode. Hopefully it brought you some value, helped you get a little bit better at fantasy hockey today. All the advanced stats you heard today came from Natural Stat Trick and from one Mark Barber, 18 Skaters. Many thanks to Matt Creamer for supplying music for the podcast. That's going to be it, folks. Much love.